The Saga of the Swamp Thing, issue 29, cover date October 1984. This is the beginning of a 4-issue arc that ties up the smaller arcs that started with issue 21. It features the reveal that Anton, Arcane, Abigail's uncle, has been the manipulator of all these events for those last 8 issues, and brings things to a head, introduces Swamp Thing to the supernatural universe, and kind of sets the stage for the next long arc. One thing to note, this issue did not receive the Comics Code Authority approval. They did not approve of this. They went ahead and published it anyway, and I'll explain shortly why. So this issue starts off, and you see these scenes, like things strewn all over the floor, bathroom with a bathtub, other things strewn in a kitchen. There's this hard scrub brush, and you see part of Abigail on the floor. And then the next issue, you see her hunched over, and she's naked. Some blood here. And this isn't blood. This is actually Arcane, sort of like drawn in the shadows. And here you see more bugs, which is an Arcane kind of symbol. And then she flashes back to before, where she meets with Swamp Thing, and she apologizes for calling him Alec in the previous issue, The Burial. And he's like, no, don't worry. It doesn't matter anymore. You can call me Alec if you want. And she's like relieved because she thought that he was angry with her. So they hug together, and they just more and more intimate that they're kind of falling in love with each other. So then she goes back and remembers the next day that Matt, who, as we know, a couple issues ago, somehow appeared resurrected with his car looking brand new, after allowing a fly to enter his mouth. And Matt is using his abilities, his kind of like superpower that he wastes on just dumb stuff, but just to kind of reincorporate himself. So he goes, hey, listen, I got 3 surprises for you. She goes, what's the first surprise? And he says, this is our new house. And she's like, how can we afford this? And he's like, this big house. Goes, oh, I got a second surprise. And then he drives her to this company called Black River Recorporations. And he says, hey, I got a new job, and I'm making a lot of money, so it's worked out great. So he introduces her to one of the co-workers. And then as she enters, she has a moment where she sees like these deformed, diseased corpses, and she freaks out, and then all of a sudden she sees normal looking people. And this has happened before when she's come in and seen things. For a moment, she sees something really terrible, and then all of a sudden it looks normal, and she thinks it's her. So it introduces her to his co-workers, and one of them is Sally Parks. So then she goes, well, you said you had 3 surprises. He goes, oh, I'll save that one for later. Let's go home. So they go home to her house. It's nice. He's like he's cleaned up his act. They're intimate. But then while they're sleeping, if you can see right here in the mirror, that's Abby, and there's how Matt Cable really looks like. And he's got like this diseased, kind of decayed half face. Just a little subtle visual reveal, kind of building that. It's like a lot of foreshadowing. Swamp Thing's out in the swamp, and he finds this bird that he thinks is dead, but it's moving. And this connects something later in this issue. So the next day, Abby goes into the library to look for some books to learn more about autistic kids, because she still has her job at the Elysium Lawns school that takes in autistic kids. So while she's there looking for a book, she just pulls down a book, and it causes other books to fall. Just an accident. But when she picks up the books, one of the books is about Sally Parks. And she kind of like freaks out because she remembers her from meeting her the day before and runs off. And then it flashes back to Abigail laying there naked and this image of, insects around her, drives home. And then she reads that Sally Parks was a serial killer of great infamy in the local area who was shot in 1962, which is 22 years before this book, shot in the head by a policeman, kind of like while in the act. So here Abigail starts thinking about it, starts putting two and two together, and she realizes that all these events, the only person that can be responsible for them is her uncle, Anton Arcane. Now, Anton Arcane in the Swamp Thing mythos is the ultimate arch villain. He's the Lex Luthor to Superman. He's the master to your Doctor Who, and he is the ultimate arch villain for Swamp Thing. And they'll cover it, but they thought he had died. Well, of course, in comics, no one really dies. And then she realizes that that he's possessing Matt. And then she starts thinking, like, how long has he been possessing her? And she realizes she's been living with him. She's been intimate with him. And she's, at this point where she realizes how long has he been controlling him. And because even though she's been intimate physically with Matt, it's really Anton Arcane, her uncle, possessing the body. So she realizes, like, she starts freaking out. She's disgusted. She just rips off her clothes, starts taking a shower, starts scrubbing, but she can't get the feeling of being clean. And so she keeps scrubbing and scrubbing and scrubbing, or she uses like a wire brush until she passes out from the pain. And she wakes up in her kitchen naked, and she's like, I gotta get out of here. And so she gets just about she's about to leave, Matt Cable shows up. He goes, hey, I brought some friends from work. And she's like, look, I know who you are. Please, what do you want me to say? And he's like, oh, what do you want me to say? Well, you can say uncle. And that's the final full reveal that they've been like teasing, that this is the return of Anton Arcane. This is how his coworkers really look like. And this, really beautifully done in color, is what Anton Arcane's true form is, like this weird spider creature with this large head. And just you realize, okay, this is the final reveal of all the foreshadowing. And then they cut to Swamp Thing, who realizes that the reason why this bird was moving was it was full of bugs. He hasn't put together yet that it's Anton. So now it's Anton Arcane. Now the ultimate arch villain has returned. Abby's gone through all this like psychological terror. And now it's like, well, what's next? And we'll see what's next. Hope you enjoy this. Thanks.